The mop handle was cold in Grace Thompson's hands as she stood frozen outside Conference Room A on the 40th floor of Preston Industries. She had come to clean the room before the big meeting, but the door was slightly open, and the voices inside made her stop. "Once he signs these papers, the company is mine," a man said. Grace recognized the voice. It was Victor Hale, the chief financial officer. She had cleaned his office many times and always felt uneasy around him. "Jonathan trusts me completely. He has no idea that these documents give me full control. The clauses are buried so deep that even his lawyers missed them." "And the signatures?" another voice asked. This one belonged to a man Grace did not know. "Forged perfectly," Victor replied with a low laugh. "His late wife's signature on the original partnership agreement, adjusted to give me majority shares upon any transfer of assets. Jonathan thinks he is just restructuring the company. By the time he realizes what happened, it will be too late. I will own Preston Industries and he will have nothing." Grace's heart pounded so hard she thought they might hear it through the door. Her hands trembled. She thought of her daughter Lily at home waiting for her. She thought of the bills piled on her kitchen table. She thought of how easy it would be to just walk away, to pretend she heard nothing. She was just a janitor. Nobody would believe her anyway. But then she thought of Jonathan Preston. She had worked in this building for 3 years. She had seen him stay late, working hard to keep his employees paid during tough times. She had seen him personally visit the custodial staff every Christmas with gifts and kind words. When her husband Marcus died 2 years ago, Jonathan had sent flowers and a card, even though he probably did not even know her name. He was a good man. And good men did not deserve to be robbed by the people they trusted. The meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Grace looked at the clock on the wall. It was 1:45. She had 15 minutes to decide what to do. She went back to the custodial closet on the 38th floor. Her supervisor, Raymond Foster, looked up from his clipboard. "You look like you saw a ghost," Raymond said. Grace opened her mouth, then closed it. She told Raymond he would tell her to stay out of it. He had worked here for 30 years by keeping his head down and his mouth shut. "Just tired," she said. At 1:55, Grace found herself standing near the main conference room on the executive floor. The large glass doors were open, and people in expensive suits were taking their seats around the long mahogany table. She saw Jonathan Preston at the head of the table. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. His wife had died of cancer just 8 months ago, and the grief still showed on his face. Victor Hale sat to his right, smiling like a cat watching a mouse. The other man Grace had heard, a lawyer she did not recognize, sat beside Victor with a stack of documents. Grace gripped her mop. She was wearing her bright blue janitor uniform with her name tag pinned to her chest. Her braids were pulled back neatly. She looked like what she was, a cleaning lady who had no business being anywhere near this meeting. But she could not walk away. The lawyer slid the documents across the table to Jonathan. "Just sign here, here, and here, Mr. Preston. This will complete the restructuring you discussed with Mr. Hale." Jonathan picked up the pen. His hand moved toward the first signature line. Grace moved before she could stop herself. She walked straight into the conference room, past the shocked faces of executives and lawyers, until she was standing right beside Jonathan Preston. "What is this?" Victor demanded, his face turning red. "Security. Someone remove this woman immediately." But Grace had already leaned down. Her lips were inches from Jonathan's ear. In a whisper so soft that only he could hear, she said 4 words that would change both of their lives forever. "Don't sign this. Please." Jonathan's pen stopped moving. He looked up at Grace. Their eyes met and something passed between them. He saw fear in her eyes, yes. But he also saw something else. Truth. "Everyone out," Jonathan said quietly. "Jonathan, this is ridiculous," Victor sputtered. "She is a janitor. She probably wants money or attention. Just sign the papers and let security deal with her." "I said everyone out." Jonathan's voice was harder now. "Except you," he said, looking at Grace. "You stay." The room emptied slowly. Victor was the last to leave, and the look he gave Grace made her blood run cold. But she stood her ground. She had come too far to run now. When the door closed, Jonathan set down the pen. "You have 1 minute to explain yourself," he said. "And your explanation better be good, because you just interrupted a $50 million deal." Grace took a deep breath. Her whole body was shaking. But she thought of Lily and she thought of doing the right thing, and she found her voice. "Mr. Preston, I know I am just a janitor. I know you have no reason to believe me. But I was outside this room 15 minutes ago, and I heard Mr. Hale talking to that lawyer. He said these documents have hidden clauses. He said your wife's signature was forged. He said once you sign he will own your company and you will have nothing. Jonathan's face went pale. That is a very serious accusation. I know, sir. And I know I could lose my job for this. I could lose everything. Grace's voice cracked. But you were kind to me when my husband died. You did not have to be, but you were. And I could not stand here and watch someone steal from you without at least trying to warn you. If this janitor had stayed silent, a good man would have lost everything. But she risked it all to do what was right. Would you have the courage to speak up even if no one believed you? Tell me in the comments, and if you want to see how this story ends, make sure you subscribe so you do not miss what happens next. Jonathan stared at Grace for a long moment. The silence in the conference room was heavy, broken only by the soft hum of the air conditioning and the distant sounds of the city 40 floors below. What is your name? He asked finally. Grace Thompson, sir. Jonathan nodded slowly. He looked down at the documents on the table, then back at Grace. Mrs. Thompson, do you understand what you are asking me to do? Victor Hale has been my partner for 15 years. He stood beside me at my wedding. He held my hand at my wife's funeral. You are asking me to believe that he is trying to steal my company based on a conversation you claim to have overheard. I understand, sir. And I am not asking you to believe me blindly. Grace's voice was steady now, even though her heart was racing. I'm just asking you to check. Have someone else look at those papers. Someone you trust who is not connected to Mr. Hale. If I am wrong, you can sign tomorrow and fire me for wasting your time. But if I am right. She let the sentence hang in the air. Before Jonathan could respond, the conference room door burst open. Victor Hale strode in, his face twisted with anger. Behind him came 2 security guards in gray uniforms. Jonathan, this has gone on long enough, Victor said. This woman is clearly disturbed. She interrupted a major business meeting with wild accusations. I want her removed from the building immediately and charged with trespassing. Jonathan held up his hand. Victor, calm down. Calm down? She just accused me of fraud in front of the entire board. My reputation is at stake here. Victor pointed at Grace. She is probably working with a competitor. Or maybe she wants a settlement to keep quiet. These people always want something. These people? Jonathan's voice went cold. Victor seemed to realize his mistake. I did not mean it like that. I just meant troublemakers. People who make accusations without evidence. Grace stayed silent. She knew that anything she said now would only make things worse. But she noticed something interesting. Victor was sweating. His hands were shaking slightly. For a man who claimed to be innocent, he looked very nervous. The meeting is postponed, Jonathan said. I am going to have the documents reviewed by an independent attorney before I sign anything. Victor's face went white. Jonathan, we have been planning this restructuring for months. The other board members are waiting. If we delay now, it will look like you do not trust your own team. Then it will look like that, Jonathan said simply. He turned to the security guards. Please escort Mrs. Thompson back to her work area. She is not to be terminated or disciplined in any way. Is that clear? The guards nodded. Jonathan, this is a mistake, Victor said through gritted teeth. Maybe. But it is my mistake to make. Jonathan looked at Grace one more time. Mrs. Thompson, I will be in touch. Grace followed the security guards out of the conference room. She could feel Victor's eyes boring into her back, filled with hate. She had made a powerful enemy today. But she had also done the right thing. Whatever happened next, she could live with that. When she got back to the custodial area on the 38th floor, Raymond was waiting for her. Girl, what did you do? He asked, his eyes wide. The whole building is buzzing. They are saying you walked right into the executive meeting and whispered something to Mr. Preston himself. I did what I had to do, Grace said. She sat down heavily on a storage crate. Her legs felt like jelly. Raymond, I might have just ruined my life. Raymond sat down beside her. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been like a father to Grace since she started working here. Tell me what happened, he said gently. Grace told him everything. When she finished, Raymond let out a long whistle. That is quite a story, he said. And you are sure about what you heard? I am sure. Raymond was quiet for a moment. Then he put his hand on her shoulder. Grace, I have worked in this building for 30 years. I've seen a lot of things. And I have learned that the quiet ones, the ones who clean the floors and empty the trash, we see more than anyone thinks. You did a brave thing today. Whatever happens, you should be proud of that. What if Mr. Preston does not believe me? What if Victor convinces him I am lying? Then at least you tried. That is more than most people would do. Raymond stood up. Now go home. Be with your daughter. There is nothing more you can do tonight. Grace nodded. She gathered her things and headed for the elevator. As she waited, she saw Ellen Monroe, Mr. Preston's executive assistant, walking toward her. Ellen was a thin woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She always wore stylish blouses in green or burgundy. "Mrs. Thompson," Ellen said, "Mr. Preston asked me to give you this." She handed Grace a business card. On the back, written in neat handwriting, were 2 words, "Thank you." Grace looked up at Ellen. "Does he believe me?" Ellen's expression softened just a little. "I think he wants to. I have worked for Jonathan Preston for 12 years. He is a good judge of character. And he is no fool." She paused. "Go home, Mrs. Thompson. Get some rest. I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be a very interesting day." Grace did not sleep well that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the city outside her small apartment window. In the next room, Lily was sleeping peacefully, unaware that her mother's entire life might be about to change. At 7 a.m., Grace's phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. "Mrs. Thompson? This is Ellen Monroe from Preston Industries. Mr. Preston would like to meet with you this morning. Can you come to the office at 9? Grace's heart jumped. "Yes. Yes, I can be there." "Good. Come to the executive floor. I will meet you at the elevator." Grace dropped Lily off at school, then took the subway to Preston Industries. She was wearing her nicest clothes, a simple red blouse and black pants, instead of her janitor uniform. She wanted to look professional even though she felt anything but. Ellen was waiting at the elevator as promised. She led Grace through the executive suite to a private office Grace had never seen before. It was smaller than the main conference room, with comfortable chairs and a view of Central Park. Jonathan Preston was standing by the window. He turned when Grace entered. "Mrs. Thompson, thank you for coming." He gestured to a chair. "Please sit down." Grace sat. Her hands were folded in her lap to keep them from shaking. "I spent most of last night going over those documents with my personal attorney," Jonathan said. He sat down across from her. "A woman named Sandra Cole. She is not connected to the company in any way." "And what did she find?" Grace asked. Jonathan took a deep breath. "She found exactly what you said she would find. Hidden clauses that would transfer full control of Preston Industries to Victor Hale. She also found irregularities in my wife's signature on the original partnership documents. It appears to be forged." Grace felt a wave of relief wash over her. "So you believe me?" "I do." Jonathan's eyes were heavy with sadness. "Victor and I built this company together 20 years ago. He was my best friend. To find out that he has been planning to betray me?" He shook his head. "I still cannot fully believe it. But the evidence is there. What are you going to do?" "Sandra is putting together a case. We need to gather more evidence before we confront Victor. If we move too quickly, he might destroy documents or transfer assets." Jonathan looked at Grace. "But I want you to know that I am grateful for what you did. You saved my company. You saved my son's future. That is not something I will forget. I did not do it for a reward, Mr. Preston." "I know. That is why I want to give you one anyway." Jonathan leaned forward. "Mrs. Thompson, I want to offer you a new position at Preston Industries. Director of Building Operations. You would oversee all custodial and maintenance staff, with a salary 3 times what you are making now. Full benefits, including college tuition for your daughter when the time comes." Grace stared at him. "Mr. Preston, I am not qualified for that position. I am just a janitor." "You are a janitor who was brave enough to speak up when everyone else stayed silent. You are observant, honest, and you clearly care about doing the right thing. Those are exactly the qualities I need in my leadership team." He smiled slightly. "Besides, you know this building better than almost anyone. Who better to run its operations?" Grace thought about Lily. She thought about the bills on her kitchen table, the second job she had been considering, the worry that kept her awake at night. "Yes," she said. "I accept. Thank you, Mr. Preston. Thank you so much. Please call me Jonathan." Over the next few weeks, Grace settled into her new role. It was challenging, but she found that she was good at it. The custodial staff respected her because she had been one of them, and she worked hard to earn the respect of everyone else. One evening she was working late, reviewing schedules in her new office on the 35th floor, when there was a knock at her door. It was Jonathan. "I saw your light on," he said. "Do you always work this late?" "I could ask you the same thing." Jonathan smiled. It was the first real smile Grace had seen from him. Fair point. I was actually about to leave. I have to pick up my son from soccer practice. But I wanted to check on you. See how you are adjusting. It is a lot to learn, Grace admitted. But I like it. I like feeling like I am making a difference. Jonathan nodded. I know what you mean. When I started this company, it was just me and Victor in a tiny office with one computer. We used to work 20-hour days and eat cold pizza for dinner. Now I have 3,000 employees and an office with a view of Central Park. But sometimes I miss those early days when everything felt simpler. Grace understood. After my husband died, everything felt complicated. Just getting out of bed was hard. But Lily needed me, so I kept going. And slowly things got easier. Not perfect, but easier. How old is your daughter? 8. She is the best thing in my life. My son Michael is 10. He is having a hard time since his mother passed. Jonathan's voice got quieter. I try to be there for him, but I do not always know what to say. Elizabeth was always better at that than me. Maybe you do not need to say anything, Grace said gently. Sometimes children just need to know you are there. That you are not going anywhere. Jonathan looked at her with something like gratitude. You know, you are very easy to talk to, Mrs. Thompson. Grace. Please call me Grace. Grace. He said her name like he was tasting it. Would you like to have dinner with me sometime? Just as friends. I could use a friend right now. Grace thought about it. She thought about how it might look, the janitor having dinner with the CEO. She thought about the gossip, the raised eyebrows. Then she thought about how lonely she had been since Marcus died. How nice it was to talk to someone who understood loss. I would like that, she said. Their first dinner was at a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, far from the glittering lights of Manhattan. They talked for 3 hours about everything and nothing. Grace learned that Jonathan had grown up poor, the son of a factory worker, and had built his company from nothing. Jonathan learned that Grace had been a straight-A student in high school but had given up her college plans to take care of her sick mother. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Giving up college? Sometimes. But my mother needed me. And if I had gone to college, I would not have met Marcus. I would not have Lily. So no, I do not think I would change anything. Jonathan nodded slowly. I used to think I had everything figured out. Big company, beautiful wife, healthy son, nice house. Then Elizabeth got sick and I realized that none of it mattered. The money, the success, the status. All I wanted was more time with her. But you did not get it. No. I did not get it. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Grace reached across the table and put her hand on his. I am sorry, Jonathan. I am truly sorry. He did not pull away. Thank you, Grace. For everything. While Grace and Jonathan were growing closer, Sandra Cole was building her case against Victor Hale. The attorney was thorough and relentless, digging through years of financial records and corporate documents. The fraud goes deeper than we thought, Sandra told Jonathan during a meeting in his office. Grace was there too at Jonathan's request. Victor has been siphoning money from the company for at least 5 years. Small amounts at first, but the total is now in the millions. He has also been meeting with competitors, sharing proprietary information in exchange for what appears to be consulting fees. Jonathan's face was hard. Can you prove all of this? I can prove most of it. The forged signatures, the hidden clauses, the embezzlement. The corporate espionage is harder to pin down, but we have enough to put him away for a long time. And Daniel Wright? The lawyer who was helping him. He is cooperating with us in exchange for a reduced sentence. He has given us everything we need. Sandra closed her folder. We can move whenever you are ready, Jonathan. The question is, how do you want to handle this? Jonathan was quiet for a long moment. Grace could see the pain on his face. Despite everything, Victor had been his friend for 20 years. This betrayal cut deep. I want to confront him myself, Jonathan said finally. In front of the board. I want him to look me in the eye and admit what he did. That could be risky, Sandra warned. If he feels cornered, he might do something unpredictable. I will be there, Grace said suddenly. Both Jonathan and Sandra looked at her. I started this. I want to be there when it ends. Jonathan nodded. Then it is settled. We will call a board meeting for next Monday. The weekend before the board meeting, Jonathan invited Grace and Lily to his house in Connecticut. His son Michael would be there, and Jonathan thought it might be good for the children to meet. Grace was nervous as they drove up the long driveway. The house was enormous, with white columns and perfectly manicured gardens. It was a far cry from their small apartment in the city. Mommy, is this a castle? Lily asked, her eyes wide. Grace laughed. No, baby. It is just a house. A very big house. Jonathan met them at the door. He was wearing casual clothes, jeans and a green sweater, and he looked more relaxed than Grace had ever seen him. "Welcome," he said. "Michael is in the backyard. He has been excited to meet Lily all week." The children hit it off immediately. Michael showed Lily his treehouse and soon they were running around the yard together, laughing and playing. Grace watched them from the patio, a warm feeling spreading through her chest. "They seem happy," Jonathan said, sitting down beside her. "They do. Lily does not have many friends. We cannot afford the activities that other kids do. Dance classes, soccer leagues, that kind of thing. Michael does not have many friends either. Since Elizabeth died, he has been withdrawn. He spends most of his time alone, reading or playing video games." Jonathan watched his son chase Lily across the lawn. "This is the happiest I have seen him in months." Grace looked at Jonathan. "Maybe they need each other." "Maybe we all need each other," Jonathan said quietly. That evening they had dinner together in the big dining room. The children sat at one end of the table, whispering and giggling. Grace and Jonathan sat at the other end talking about everything and nothing. After dinner, Michael asked if Lily could spend the night. "Can I, Mommy? Please?" Lily begged. Grace looked at Jonathan, who shrugged. "We have plenty of guest rooms. And I think it would be good for Michael." "Okay," Grace said. "But you have to be good." "I will. I promise." Later, after the children were in bed, Jonathan and Grace sat on the back porch, looking up at the stars. The city was far away and the sky was clear and bright. "Grace, I need to tell you something," Jonathan said. Grace felt her heart speed up. "What is it?" "I have not felt this way in a long time. Since Elizabeth, I thought I would never feel anything again. But being with you, talking to you, it is like waking up from a long sleep." He turned to face her. "I care about you, Grace. More than I should probably admit." Grace was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I care about you too, Jonathan. But I am scared." "Of what?" "Of this. Of us. Our lives are so different. You are a millionaire CEO and I was a janitor. People will talk. Let them talk. I stopped caring what people think a long time ago. The only opinions that matter to me are yours, Michael's and Lily's." He took her hand. "I am not asking for anything more than you are willing to give. I just wanted you to know how I feel." Grace looked at their joined hands. His were soft, hers still rough from years of cleaning. But somehow they fit together perfectly. "I feel the same way," she said. "I just need time." "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." Here they are, two people from completely different worlds, finding hope in each other after loss. Do you believe that love can find us when we least expect it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you are enjoying this story, subscribe now because the next chapter is where everything changes. Victor Hale knew something was wrong. Jonathan had been avoiding him for weeks, canceling meetings and ignoring his calls. And everywhere Victor went, he saw Grace Thompson, the janitor who had ruined everything. She was not a janitor anymore. She had a fancy office and a new title and apparently unlimited access to Jonathan Preston. Victor had tried to find out what was going on, but even his contacts inside the company were keeping quiet. On Friday afternoon, Victor made a decision. If he could not get to Jonathan, he would get to Grace. He found her leaving the building at the end of the day. She was walking toward the subway station, her mind clearly somewhere else. "Mrs. Thompson," Victor called out. "May I have a word?" Grace stopped. Her body tensed, but she turned to face him. "Mr. Hale. What can I do for you?" Victor walked closer, keeping his voice friendly. "I think we got off on the wrong foot. That day in the conference room I may have overreacted. I want to apologize." Grace's expression did not change. "There is no need to apologize, Mr. Hale. You were protecting your interests. I understand." Good. Victor smiled. "I am glad there are no hard feelings. Actually, I was hoping we could talk privately. There are some things you should know about Jonathan Preston. Things that might change your opinion of him." "I appreciate the offer, Mr. Hale, but I am not interested." Victor's smile tightened. "Mrs. Thompson, I am trying to help you. You have gotten yourself mixed up in something you do not understand. Jonathan is using you just like he uses everyone. When he is done with you, he will throw you away like yesterday's garbage." Grace stepped closer to Victor. Her voice was calm but firm. "Mr. Hale, I know exactly what kind of man Jonathan Preston is. I also know exactly what kind of man you are. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a daughter waiting for me at home." She turned and walked away. Victor watched her go, his hands clenched at his sides. The next day Victor tried a different approach. He showed up at Grace's apartment building, waiting outside until she came home from work. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, stepping out of his car. "Please just hear me out." Grace stopped on the sidewalk. Lily was holding her hand, looking up at the strange man with wide eyes. "Who is that, Mommy?" Lily asked. "Nobody, baby. Go inside and start your homework. I will be right there." Lily went into the building. Grace faced Victor, her expression hard. "You should not be here, Mr. Hale. I came to make you an offer." Victor pulled an envelope from his jacket. "There is a check in here for $500,000. All you have to do is leave New York. Start a new life somewhere else. Forget everything you heard that day in the conference room." Grace looked at the envelope. $500,000. It was more money than she would make in 10 years. She could buy a house, send Lily to private school, never worry about bills again. But she thought about Jonathan. She thought about Michael. She thought about what kind of person she wanted to be. "Keep your money, Mr. Hale," she said. "I am not for sale." Victor's face twisted with anger. "You are making a mistake. Big mistake. You have no idea what I am capable of." "Neither do you," Grace said. "Good night, Mr. Hale." She went inside and did not look back. On Sunday morning, Jonathan called Grace. "Victor came to see you?" he asked, his voice tight with concern. "How did you know?" "I have had security watching you since the board meeting was announced. I was worried Victor might try something." Jonathan paused. "Grace, I am so sorry. I should have warned you." "It is okay. I can handle Victor Hale." "I know you can. That is one of the things I admire about you." Jonathan sighed. "Listen, there is something I want to give you. A bonus for everything you have done for the company. I know you said you did not do it for a reward, but I want to do this. Please let me." Grace was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "What kind of bonus?" "I want to pay off your debts. Your apartment lease, your credit cards, your car loan. All of it." Grace's breath caught. "Jonathan, that is too much. I cannot accept that." "You can and you will. Grace, you saved my company. You saved my family's future. What is money compared to that?" His voice softened. "Please, let me do this for you. For you and Lily." Grace thought about all the sleepless nights worrying about how to pay the rent. She thought about the second job she had been considering, the time it would take away from Lily. She thought about what it would feel like to be free of that constant weight. "Okay," she said. "Thank you, Jonathan. I do not know how to thank you. You already have. More than you know." That night, Grace told Lily about the changes coming to their lives. No more worrying about money. No more skipping meals to save on groceries. A real future. Lily threw her arms around her mother. "Does this mean we can get a dog?" Grace laughed, tears streaming down her face. "Maybe, baby. Maybe." Monday morning arrived gray and cold. Grace dressed carefully, choosing a maroon blouse that made her feel strong. She took the elevator to the executive floor and found Jonathan waiting outside the main conference room. "Are you ready?" he asked. "As ready as I will ever be." They walked in together. The board members were already seated around the long table. Victor Hale was at his usual spot, looking confident despite everything. He clearly did not know what was coming. Sandra Cole stood at the head of the table, a stack of documents in front of her. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jonathan said, taking his seat. "Thank you for coming on such short notice. I have asked Sandra Cole to present some findings that require immediate action." Victor's eyes narrowed. "What findings?" "Jonathan, we have not discussed any new business." "No, we have not," Jonathan said calmly. "But I think you know what this is about, Victor." Sandra began her presentation. She walked the board through the evidence methodically, the forged signatures, the hidden clauses, the embezzlement, the meetings with competitors. With each new revelation, Victor's face grew paler. "This is absurd," Victor said when Sandra finished. "These documents are fabricated. Jonathan, you cannot believe this." "I believe the evidence, Victor. The same evidence that Daniel Wright provided when he agreed to cooperate with our investigation." Jonathan's voice was steady but sad. "You are my friend. My partner. I trusted you with everything. Why?" Victor was silent for a long moment. The board members stared at him, waiting. Grace held her breath. Then Victor's shoulders slumped. The fight went out of him. "Because I deserved more," he said quietly. "I built this company just as much as you did. But you always got the credit. You always got the spotlight. I was tired of being second." He looked up at Jonathan. "I am sorry. For what it is worth, I am sorry." "It is not worth much," Jonathan said. "But I accept your apology. Now please gather your things and leave." Security will escort you out. Sandra will be in touch about the legal proceedings. Victor stood slowly. As he walked toward the door, he passed Grace. He stopped and looked at her. You ruined everything, he said. Grace met his gaze. No, Mr. Hale. You ruined everything yourself. I just made sure you did not take anyone else down with you. Victor walked out without another word. 6 months later, spring had come to New York City. The trees in Central Park were blooming, and the air was warm and sweet. Grace stood on the balcony of Jonathan's apartment, looking out at the city she loved. So much had changed since that day in the conference room. Victor had pleaded guilty to fraud and embezzlement and was serving a 10-year sentence. Preston Industries was thriving under honest leadership. And Grace had found something she thought she had lost forever. Penny for your thoughts? Jonathan said, coming up behind her. Grace smiled. Just thinking about how different my life is now. A year ago, I was mopping floors and worrying about how to pay the electric bill. Now you are the director of building operations at a Fortune 500 company, raising a wonderful daughter, and hopefully considering a very important question. Grace turned around. Jonathan was on one knee, a small velvet box in his hand. Grace Thompson, he said, you are the bravest, kindest, most amazing woman I have ever met. You saved my company with a whisper and my heart with your smile. I cannot imagine spending the rest of my life with anyone else. Will you marry me? Grace looked at the ring. It was beautiful, a simple diamond on a gold band. But it was not the ring that made her heart swell. It was the man holding it. Yes, she said. Yes, Jonathan. I will marry you. He slipped the ring on her finger and stood up to kiss her. Behind them, 2 voices erupted in cheers. She said yes. She said yes. Lily and Michael ran out onto the balcony, jumping up and down with excitement. Does this mean we are going to be brother and sister? Michael asked. It does, Jonathan said, putting his arm around Grace. We are going to be a family. Lily grabbed Michael's hand. I always wanted a big brother. Michael grinned. And I always wanted a little sister. Grace looked at the 3 people she loved most in the world. Her eyes filled with happy tears. You know, she said to Jonathan, if I had not been outside that conference room that day, none of this would have happened. I know, Jonathan said. That is why I believe in fate. You were meant to be there, Grace. You were meant to save me. And I was meant to love you. They stood together on the balcony, watching the sun set over the city. A janitor and a millionaire. A whispered warning and a love that changed everything. Some stories do not have happy endings. But this one does.